Hello students, you are here because you want to learn or revise a little bit about the scenario-based questions which will appear in paper 2. The scenario-based question is a compulsory question that appears in paper 2 for both the O-level as well as the N-level POA paper. So for the O-level paper, so if you're O-level student, you should listen to the O-level paper. So the O-level paper appears in paper 2, it is 7 marks. All right, 1 decision, 3 reasons, which means you get 1 mark for 1 decision and 2 marks for each reason. For the N-level paper, it appears in paper 2 and it is a 5-mark question, 1 decision, 2 reasons, which means you get 1 mark for, or rather 2 marks for each reason. Now, what are the topics which will appear for these scenario-based questions? For both the N-level and the O-level, these are 3 common topics: inventory, trade receivables, and trade payables. So for inventory, you will have to decide and choose which inventory to buy. For trade receivables, you will have to choose which customer, which credit customer to give or to extend credit to. For trade payables, you have to choose which supplier to buy from. Okay, so these are topics which will appear in both O-level and N-level. For O-level students, you have 2 additional topics: business forms. So you have to choose whether to operate as a limited company, a limited liability, sorry, not company, but partnership. So just let me make a change here. Okay, so not company, but partnership, limited liability, partnership. There you go. Or a sole proprietor. Okay, there is another topic. You have to decide for a non-current asset. You have to decide whether to buy or to rent the non-current asset, or to choose which NCA to buy. Okay, so these 2 topics are additional for O-level students. Otherwise, actually, the way of writing the SBQ is the same. It's the same skill, just that the content is different. Okay, so let's go and take a look at the structure of the SBQ essay. So you are required to write a reason decision. And these decisions include these items. A decision, firstly, of course, you have to make a decision, right? So you have to make a choice and you need to state that decision very clearly. You cannot change your decision. You cannot change your choice once you have made it at the beginning of the essay. You cannot choose product A later, halfway through. Oh, actually, I changed my mind on product B. Cannot. Make a decision at the beginning and stick to it. Now, after that, after you make a decision, we'll ask you, what are some reasons, right? Why do you choose this choice? Why do you make this choice? So you have to make, you have to provide reasons. If you're O-level, 3 reasons. If you're N-level, 2 reasons. So a reason must include the evidence from the question. So here you need to extract and paraphrase the evidence. Now, paraphrase means what? Means you don't just copy directly from the question into your answer paper. I always tell my students, the examiner is not going to give you marks for copying. If you wanted beautiful copied answers, right? We just go to a photocopy and photocopy the question. All right, so you need to paraphrase the evidence a little bit. Later, we will see an example. After that, you compare if it is possible. So if it's 2 products, you compare product A and product B, if it's possible. And finally, there is an explanation and link to the financial statements. So what do you do here? You explain why the evidence support your decision, and then you need to link it to financial statements information. And again, I also always tell my students, this is an accounting paper. It is not I don't know, Lazada paper or any other paper. It's an accounting paper. So you will need to link it to accounting terms that you find in the financial statements. And if you don't do that, you actually lose this explain and link to FS mark. All right. So a reminder, O-level, paper 2, 7 marks. So 1 decision, but 3 reasons. And you need 3 evidence, 3 explanation, and link to FS. Now, 1 reason at a time. So present 1 evidence plus 1 explain and link to FS, and then present the next evidence and next explain and link to FS. All right, don't write all the evidence first and then all the explain and link to FS after that. No, you need to group the evidence and explain to link to FS together. For N-level, same thing, except the number of reasons are different. only 2 reasons. So 2 evidence and link, explain and link to FS, and then another one, evidence and explain and link to FS. Okay, so what is this explain and link to FS? So I think students tend to have the most difficulty here. Basically in this, for this point, right, you need to use financial statement terms in your explain and link point. And something that could help you is to start your answer with this phrase. This means that there will be ... All right, so it can help you if you try to start your answers with this phrase. This means that there will be. And then remember your 20-mark financial statements, use some terms from the financial statements to get this 1 point. So some examples of how we link to financial statements are if we say that there is an increased sales volume. Why? Because there is increased sales revenue. Okay, so if you have an increased sales volume and resulting in an increase in sales revenue, or you may mention there was a lowering of cost of sales, or the cost of sales was lower, resulting in an increased gross profit. You could also say that there was a lower expense, which eventually led to a higher profit for the year. Or because expenses are lower, you have more cash that you can use to pay off your daily expenses. For O-level questions, and the next 2 refer to O-level questions, you could mention about, for example, if it's a question asking you to choose between a business form, you can say that you can increase cash to expand business by issuing more share capital, or you can say increase funds to expand business. You could also mention, you can ensure stability in sales volume, because if you own a property, it means that there's a lower chance that your landlord will evict you. All right, there's a lower chance that the landlord will ask you to move within a short notice. So if you own your own property, right, actually your sales volume could be more stable because you can stay in one place and just sell. Okay, so let's take a look at one example. We will look at 3 examples. The first 2 examples are N-level examples. The last example is an O-level example. So the first example is a trade receivable example. So let's take a look at this. So there are 2 customers, Tony PC Limited and Harvey Electronics, and they would like to, they would like to negotiate for a longer repayment period. They want to extend the repayment period from 30 days to 35 days. So these are some of the information, some average trade receivables, annual sales volume, repayment history, and then reputation of business. By the way, a quick revision, right? Which is considered accounting information and which is considered non-accounting information. So average trade receivables balance and annual sales revenue, that is accounting information, right? Because it involves numbers, whereas repayment history over the past year or reputation of business, that is non-accounting information, all right? Because does not directly involve dollar and cents. Regardless, if you are the business, Perry Trading, who would you extend a longer repayment period to? And I'm just going to focus on the repayment history over the last year. So we see that for Tony PC Limited, we paid within 28 days and we paid late 2 times in 1 year. For Harvey Electronics, generally we pay within 35 days and we pay late 5 times. So we need to keep in mind the current repayment period, right, is the businesses or your customers need to pay within 30 days. All right. And in this case, you have to remember you're a businessman. All right. A lot of students will say, I'm going to extend it to Harvey Electronics because it looks like he really needs the longer repayment period. They are already late. So if I extend the longer repayment period to Harvey, right, then Harvey will no longer be late. All right. But you have to remember, you are not a charitable organization. You are a businessman, right? You are an accountant and you are acting in the best interest of your business, which is Tony Trading. And from that perspective, that you are a businessman, actually, you would choose to extend the longer repayment period to Tony PC Limited because he is actually less risky. All right, he is less risky. he has already been paying within your current repayment period, and he has only repaid late 2 times compared to Harvey Electronics, which has repaid late 5 times and already late compared for based on the current repayment period. So how do we write a DEE? Right? How do we write a DEE to illustrate this or to answer this SBQ question? Okay, so firstly, D, right? D stands for decision. I would write down my decision. Peri trading should extend a longer repayment period to Tony PC Limited. You must make a clear decision, and when you do, you get that 1 mark. So the next E, what does the next E stand for? Evidence, right? So what is the evidence? So the evidence is over here that you're going to repay within 28 days. He is already repaying within 28 days and only repay late 2 times. So we're going to say that evidence. He has been paying within the repayment period, and so far in 1 year, only repay late 2 times. All right, so that's the evidence. So this is the evidence, but it's accounting paper, right? How does it link to your financial statements? So Tony PC Limited is already paying within the current repayment period, and he repaid late fewer times compared to Harvey Electronics, all right? Already paying within the repayment period. Yeah, I highlight, I didn't. And repaid late a few times, fewer times compared to Harvey Electronics. So it actually means that there's a lesser chance that they will pay late in future. Okay, so if there's a lesser chance that he will repay late in future, what does it mean for you as the business? It means that you will be able to collect cash on time, and you will have more cash for your day-to-day expenses, to pay up your day-to-day expenses. All right, so can you see here that I have used? All right, can you see here that I have used cash, more cash to repay day-to-day expenses? Those are financial statement terms. All right, so that's what I mean by linking it to the financial statements. Apart from that, you could also say, because of this, right, there is a lesser chance of impairment loss on trade receivables if you extend credit to Toby PC Limited. And that's good because impairment losses on trade receivables actually decreases profit. All right, so again, where is the financial statement link? You can see that I've used this term, impairment loss on trade receivables, as well as profit, which is a financial statement link. All right, so this is example number 1. Now remember that this is a video, so you can pause me and rewatch anytime you need. Actually, all right, so example 2, inventory. So this business now is Rahas. Rahas is a sport equipment shop, and they are considering 2 suppliers, and they want to purchase 100 badminton rackets. All right, and they have these information, Brave Badminton and Yu Mao Qiu. And they have given you price per unit, some shipping information, as well as some business information. Again, which is the accounting information here. So price per unit is the accounting information. Delivery orders, delivery charges, accounting information. All right. And the non-accounting information would be things like where it delivers from, like from Brave Badminton, it delivers from a warehouse in Singapore, whereas Yu Mao Qiu is in China. The delivery time is non-accounting information. So for Brave Badminton, it's delivery time of 2 to 3 working days, and Yu Mao Qiu is 10 to 14 working days. So business information is also a non-accounting information. So what does the question want you to do? Advise Rahas which supplier you should buy from. Support your answer with 2 if it's N-level or 3 if it's O-level reasons. So what would I do? I would actually want to use the price per unit. All right, for now, I want to use price per unit. So I see that Brave Badminton is $45 per unit and Yu Mao Qiu is $40 per unit. Now above that, Brave Badminton says that, oh, free delivery for orders above 50 units. But Yu Mao Qiu will charge you a delivery charge of $80. So if I just use this information, which one would I choose? Okay, so firstly, I need to calculate, right? If I want to purchase 100 rackets. So how much will the total amount of inventory cost from each supplier? So for Brave Badminton, it's 100 rackets times 45 plus 0 delivery, which will be 4,500 rackets, or rather dollars, inventory cost. Okay, for Yu Mao Qiu, 100 rackets times 40 plus $80 delivery, 4,080 inventory cost. So from here, I can see that the decision I should make is that I should go with Yu Mao Qiu. Why? So say the decision, Yu Mao Qiu. And why Yu Mao Qiu? Because Rahas will only pay 4,080 for $100 racket if we choose Yu Mao Qiu. Okay, so he actually pays a lower inventory cost. All right, the inventory cost is lower compared to 4,500 if he chooses Brave Badminton. So that's the evidence. Can you see that I did not copy? I did not copy. Each badminton from Yu Mao Qiu is $40 and there is delivery expenses of $80. This $40 is lesser than $45 from Brave Badminton, which will not charge a delivery or free delivery for orders above 50 units. I did not copy. What I did was I did some calculation and I presented that as evidence. So remember, don't copy. You should paraphrase the evidence. Okay, so what is the explanation and link to FS? So you explain why this evidence support your decision. So the reason why the evidence will support your decision is because cost of sales or your inventory cost will be lower if you choose Yu Mao Qiu. All right, by how much? By $420. I take 4,005 minus 4,080. Okay, so this is me explaining why the evidence support my decision. Now, apart from that, you also need to link to FS, right? So the way I link it by, this means that without changing the selling price, Rahas, that means I don't change selling price at all, Rahas will be able to earn a higher gross profit and a higher profit for the year. Why? Because cost of sales is lower, right? So this answer illustrates how you can write a decision, which is supported by one reason. Oh, by the way, just to remind you, this evidence and explain here like that is actually only one reason. All right. So for N level, 2 reasons. O level, 3 reasons. Okay. Now, does it mean that there's only one correct choice? That means I must choose Yu Mao Qiu. I cannot choose Brave Badminton. Actually, for every single question, regardless of which product, which supplier, or which choice you make, there is always enough information for you to write your reasons. You just need to be able to find these evidences and find these reasons. Okay. So for example, if I go with Brave Badminton, right, I might not focus on the cost because the cost obviously higher. So what I might focus on is that I might focus on the delivery time. See, for Brave Badminton, the delivery time is 2 to 3 working days, whereas Yu Mao Qiu, 10 to 14 working days. Why? Shipping from overseas a bit longer, right? So if I just focus on this, I would actually make the choice of choosing Brave Badminton. So how would I write my reasons for that? So firstly, of course, I say, oh, my choice is Brave Badminton. I should buy from Brave Badminton. Then my evidence, the estimated delivery time by Brave Badminton is only 2 to 3 working days. Because why? It's in a local warehouse. Whereas Yu Mao Qiu takes 10 to 14 days. Why? Because overseas warehouse. All right, so again, see that I did not copy directly. I paraphrased it a little bit. All right. So this is evidence. The next thing you have to write is your explain and link to FS, right? You need to explain why this evidence supports your decision to go with Brave Badminton. So the explanation of why this evidence supports your decision. Why? Because if Brave Badminton can deliver the inventory faster, if Brave Badminton can deliver the inventory faster, it's good, right? Why is it good? It's good because Rahas can receive his goods earlier after he put in an order. So this is an explanation of why an earlier delivery time supports your decision. So how does this link to your financial statements? So again, link to financial statements, what can you use? You can use the words, you can use words like, this means that, all right? So this means that, link to financial statements. This means that Rahas will not lose sales revenue because of a lack of inventory. All right, sales revenue and sales volume will be very stable, will not fluctuate because I don't have stock. All right, sales revenue and sales revenue will be stable, and it leads to a stable gross profit and profit for the year. All right, so this is an example of actually a question. Regardless of which choice you make, there will be enough information to support your choice. Okay, so the examples end here for N-level students. So N-level students, just want to remind you the structure of a SBQ essay. You need to write a reason decision, and this reason and decision includes number one, a decision, make a choice, evidence, extract and paraphrase the evidence from the question. If possible, compare. So you see that I am doing comparison throughout all my answers, right? And finally, you need to explain why your evidence support your decision, and then you need to link it back to the financial statement information. All right. And reminder for N-level students, one decision, this evidence and explain times 2, please. 2 reasons. All right. So N-level students, if you want to stay on and listen to an O-level question, you can. Otherwise, you can just drop off. Now, for O-level students, this is a possible question for business form. It's from your textbook. I just took it. So I think you may have did it with your teacher, but this is just a quick revision. So if Alfan is 55 years old and he has been working as a baker and he decides that he wants to set up his own bakery. Now, the question asks you, if you are Alfan, will you set up a sole proprietorship or will you set up your business as a private limited company? So some information in the question tells you that Alfan has savings, but they're not enough to set up the bakery. And it also tells you that he has to borrow some money because not enough savings. All right, so you can use this to make a decision. So what decision would you choose or would you make? Would it be a sole proprietorship or private limited? If you have not enough money and you have to borrow money, or if you have to ask other people to invest in you, then more likely than not, right, you will have to set up a private limited company. So how would I write my answer? So number one, my decision, say it, private limited company, 1 mark. All right. Second thing, give the evidence. Evidence is that he has savings, but he will need to borrow more. Third, next thing that you need to do is that you will need to explain why your evidence support your decision to incorporate your business as a private limited company. So the explanation, since it is easier for a private limited company to raise funds, either from borrowing from the bank, because PLC tend to have more business asset for collateral, or through share issuance, Alfan should register his business as a private limited company. All right. Now, in this case, the link to the FS for this particular topic, the link to the FS is not extremely apparent. You could say that this will result in more funds or more cash, Alfan being able to raise more funds or more cash, which actually you kind of mentioned here already, so that he can expand his business, or rather set up his business. All right. So just a reminder again, a structure of an SBQ essay for you O-level students is actually exactly the same. You need to make a decision, paraphrase evidence, compare where possible. Explain why the evidence support your decision, link it to accounting information. And finally, remember that for you, evidence and explain need to times 3 reasons. Okay, so all the best for your SBQ essays.